Okay, so we have the commodities classifications. We started now. We discussed about light hazard, ordinary hazard 1 and 2, extra hazard 1 and 2. We discussed about the quantity and combustibility of those materials. We discussed about how much heat will come from those areas and how much quantity they have stored, what is the height of that, and all those requirements we discussed. Now we are moving ahead to commodities classification. Just occupancy classification from light hazard all the way to the more than enough, especially in the warehouse, or let's say in a shopping mall, or in a shopping complex, or any hyper malls, hyper panda, lulu, and all those areas, because now those places store different commodities, right? They store plastic, they store foam, they store some kind of the paper materials, and those should be stored on. So there are different kind of requirements. So this is totally different to those classification we discussed in the beginning. Now, commodity classification have different classification requirement of class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4, and then we have group A, B, and C plastics. Group A plastic is the product which is having much heat release rate from group A plastics. So what is the what is the requirement for commodities classification, right? Why we so much on these topics? If you can see this figure, right? We have a pallet, right? This pallet is the wood pallet, and then we have a packing materials, external packing, most probably a cartoon materials, and then we have a expanded foam inside, the plastic expanded foam that we use to store the product, or we use to transport the some of the equipment from one place to other place, that is a fragile and that cannot be break easily, right? So we have three different products, right? The pallet made of the wood, and then we have the cartoons, and then we have the storage material inside. So all those material will be have different. So the heat release from all of the material will be different, right? So based on that, we need to do the classification. And those classification is listed in NFPA 13, and also you can get those information from FM Global or UL dataset for different occupancies. Okay, moving on. If you can look at this, if you can see the screen, you can see this figure, right? The plastics having the much severe heat release. Group 1 plastics, is normally non-combustible product, non-combustible product like steel or glass, but they have stored in a packing that is combustible. We'll discuss in a while. Class 2 is again is a non-combustible product, but it is stored in highly combustible packaging material. And class 3 product we can consider as group C plastics, and class 4 product we can consider as the B plastics. And then we have group A plastics, group B plastics, and group C plastics. So the higher we will go, we will get the more quantity of the heat release rate from the fire. So we have to design our sprinkler system based on that. Okay, so my question to you guys, out of this classification, the commodity classification, class 1 to group A, B, and C plastics, which product classification will give us more heat? Means the more heat release rate. Let's say there is a fire, and after 1 minute, how much heat getting released from those product? Which one is the classification for that? Mr. Murtaz, lost the connection. Yeah. No answer. Okay, I'll explain. But you guys are able to hear my voice, right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this graph, this graph tells us the heat release rate from each different product, different product combustibility and all, how much heat we are getting. Yeah, someone want to speak, right? Go ahead. Muhammad Al Haziri,
Yes. No, no. I forgot
you
about
want
it.
to say?
It's open.
Okay. Oh, your
No,
mic
sir.
is on. Okay. So if you can see in the left, right, the blue one, it is the exposed expanded group A plastics. The red one, cartoon expanded group A plastics, and the last one, cartoon unexpanded group A plastic. And after that, we have class 2 commodities. So what this figure try to tell, how much heat we are getting from one product after some time. Means fire start, how much heat in kilowatt we are getting, heat release rate in kilowatt. Let's say we have a 0 degree Celsius, right? At 0 second when there is a fire, right? We don't have any heat, but after something around 35 second, after 35 second we got heat release rate of around 3.5 kilowatt. So we are getting 1.3 megawatt per second of heat. 1.3 megawatt per second of the heat. Now for the cartoon expanded group A plastic, the same 3.5 kilowatt we are getting in around 60 second, right? If you're coming just below this graph, and for the cartoon unexpanded group A plastic we are getting those in 80 second, and for the last one, which is class 2 commodities, which is product but stored in a package that is combustible. So now coming to those figure, just after 35 seconds of the fire, the exposed expanded group A plastics giving much more heat higher than the class 2. Now we got the classification requirement, and why it is so much important for the correct design of the sprinkler system to control the fire. If anyone can further explain this one, I'll be happy to hear from you regarding this graph.
So what I understand is the class 2 is less than the first one. It is exposed expanded group A.
Yeah, exactly.
So what يعني how we can understand يعني this during the design. So just increase the class 2 or what we do يعني.
I'll come to that point. Don't worry. We'll go to the classification, and again, I just want to emphasize that I just want to emphasize at this point,
Mm.
different product behave different, and they give more heat compared to the other product. So if your sprinkler system is protected for designed for this class 2 commodities, right, and you store these kinds of the product, and if there is a fire, this sprinkler system will not control those fire because the water will be very less to fight the fire for group A plastics. And how to design in those areas? Yeah, your question is right that in shopping some hypermarkets there are different products and different quantity. How we are going to how we are going to assume and design our areas. This we'll discuss after, maybe after 4 or 5, after in the last of this slide. We have something very important to discuss on these topics. For now, you consider that, from the class 1 all the way to the group A plastics. Class 1 is the non-combustible product, class 2 is the non-combustible product, class 3 is a combustible, class 4 combustible. But the plastics, group A plastic, is the most combustible product, which will give us more heat release rate from the fire.
Here, in summary, that those classification is just a representation of how aggressive the fire will be with respect to time.
Yeah, exactly. How aggressive is the fire with respect to the. Just wait a moment. Yeah, hello.
Yes, Mr.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, very clear.
Yeah, actually, my kid came, so I just mute the sound for some time.
No, it's okay. That was
He used to come in between.
choose voice.
Yeah, exactly. So I just. Okay, so now we come to the class 1 commodities. What are the example for class 1 commodities, right? So class 1 commodities are, is non-combustible product, but it is stored by a package. The packaging might be some wood crates, or the plastic wrapping, or some cartoon. So those packaging item is only combustible. Like you can see here, we have some of the product which is not combustible, but this product, once stored in some of the packaging items, it become a combustible, a little bit of that. It might be placed on wood pallets or placed in a single layer corrugated carton. The one we can see here, it is a single layer corrugated cartoons, right? And if you can see your handbook, right, we have the manual we have given to you. You guys must downloaded that. It all the types of class 1 commodities are there, and you can check in NFPA 13. They have given like what comes under class 1 commodities: batteries, empty containers, flammable and combustible liquid up to 20% of the alcohol, food products, furniture and bedding, housing materials, and other kind of the miscellaneous item like motors and electric items, transformer, dry or empty without oil. So this comes under group A, sorry, class 1 commodities. Then we move on to class 2 commodities, right? This is again non-combustible product. So what is the meaning of non-combustible product? The product stored, it is a non-combustible, but they have been stored in combustible packing, right? Like a wooden crates. This is a wooden crates or wooden box. Here we have a multi-layer corrugated cartons. Multi-layer corrugated cartons mean you can see there is two layer, one layer and two layer, right? But in the previous figure, we can see we have only single layer corrugated cartons. This carton is only one layer, but in class 2 commodities, we have multi-layer corrugated cartons. So if this kind of the multi-layer corrugated cartoon are placed, it means that we have to protect those occupancies as for class 2 commodities. This is what they all talks about. You got the point?
Yes, yes, Mr. Ravi.
And then we move on to class 3 commodities and class 4 commodities, right? So class 2 commodities is more combustible than class 1 commodities, and class 3 commodity is more combustible than class 2 commodities. Now if we come back to class 3 commodities, right? Here we have, a product which is fashioned from wood, paper, natural fiber, or group C plastic. So class 3 commodity can keep some amount of group C plastic also. Now how to keep those group C plastic here, we'll discuss that one. The example for this product will be class 3 commodities. You can see you guys are having your manual also along with you, or it is in the soft copy.
Yeah, we have the soft copy already. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see after the class into the soft copy that what types of the product comes under which commodity classification. Like for class 3 commodities in table 1.10 of your manual shows that we have food products, the frozen food products, flammable or combustible liquid, but that should be the aerosol only, level 1, furniture and bedding, housing materials, miscellaneous, plastic and rubber with some quantities. Then class 4 commodities, right? It is a product with or without pellet. It might be on pellet or it might not be on pellet. And it is constructed partially of group B plastics. Consists of the free flowing material. Now what is the free flowing materials is that, let's say you stored some of the raw item, like you stored unexpanded polystyrene, some like sugar kind of the shape, some flowing material, that if that material catches the fire, the packing will destroy it, and all the material will uh, drop down on the floor on the aisles. We call it the free flowing material. Something catches the fire, and due to a small fire area, all the material drop down on the aisles level, on the ground level. We call it the free flowing material. Example of class 4 commodities will be furniture or bedding, housing materials, plastic and rubber, powder and peels, textile manufacturing materials, and so on. I think you guys have to read the NFPA. I will recommend you guys to study NFPA 13, chapter 5, which is for occupancy classification, and try to read the handbook, the one I said to you, because in handbook you will get lots of information. Now, since we discussed since the beginning, out of class 1 commodities, class 2 commodities, class 3 and 4 commodities, and group A, B, and C plastics. Group A plastic is the most combustible one, and it will give you the more high heat release rate. The most severe is the group A plastic, right? So suppose you design your sprinkler system for class 3 commodities. Class 3 commodities which is less hazardous than the class group A plastic, but you want to put some quantity of the group A plastic into that occupancies. How we can keep into that? This graph will help us to put those quantity, this group A plastic, the materials, right? The graph says that, this is a group A plastic we have to put into class 3 commodities. Here we have class 3 commodities, right? Class 3 commodities. In that we can keep 5% of the group A plastic which is expanded, and 5% of the group A plastic which is unexpanded. Now what is the meaning of the expanded plastic and unexpanded plastic? Expanded plastic, if they want to make the foam kind of the foam materials, right? Thermocol items, the Hodi blocks for keeping some food for long time without any heat release, or some packaging for packaging items. Normally, the manufacturing company buy this product from the petrochemical plants in Saudi Arabia. Some plastic manufacturing company take those products from the SABIC as a raw material. Now, those raw materials they will put into the some kind of the expander, steam expander. They will just put steam inside that expander and try to large the side. Now those products comes like the shape of the sugar, right? Just understand the shape of the sugar. They put the heat into that and they expand the size of those small particles to maybe different size, the void space and all. You are catching the point?
Yeah, so it's just making the material less dense. Is that
Yeah, their density they're reducing by expanding the material in the factories.
yeah,
So
yeah.
those comes under the expanded particle, like it might be the foam items, the packaging, or sometimes they use as an insulation in the building. They put inside the bricks so that the heat release rate will be less. The leakage of the air conditioning system will be less. It's a most common we can see in the Middle East. So 5% we can keep the unexpanded and 5% we can keep the
So
expanded.
the expanded one will be more severe in terms of heat energy generated during the combustion, right?
Yeah, actually, I no, yeah, exactly. Because in the expanded one, in between the space, there is a wide space, and oxygen will travel into that area easily. This is the first thing. Another thing they want to, they want to differentiate between the volumetric percentage and the weight percentage. Unexpanded can be only measured by the weight, but the expanded, if you are measuring by the weight, 10 kg of the foam blocks will be like big space. Got the point? The extended product is very heavy. You can take a big block of the foam items without any problem, right? Because
Yeah,
that
and
is
the
expanded.
expanded one could be, for example, 1 meter cube when it is, for example, half kilogram in the weight.
Yeah, exactly. But if the unexpanded 1 meter cube, we cannot lift maybe 100 kg or 150 kg. So they want to differentiate this by volumetric percentage and weight percentage. So they will, for unexpanded, they will take the weight, and for the expanded, they will take the volume. So we can give 5% of those, 5% of the expanded also, and 5% of the unexpanded in group 3, sorry, class 3 commodities, 5% of the group A plastic. But if you are keeping group A into class 2 commodities, right, we can go up to 15% of the unexpanded product and 25% of the expanded product. This is what they have given you criteria. You know why? Because you're designing your, if you know that your building is designed for a sprinkler system, right? You want to product, the most of the product in the building is only group 4 commodities, which is not as severe than the group A plastics. Now we want to put group A plastic into the same commodities. We have some channels that we can put that one. We cannot go more than 50% by unexpanded volumetric weight, or by 25% of the volume. We keep the limit into that. This is how they explain. Now we came to the group A plastic, right? These are the most combustible of the plastics. The most combustible product is the group A plastics. The example for group A plastic is ABS, acrylic, EPDM, thermoplastic, polyester, PVC pipe, right? Highly plasticide, and PVF and SBR. For more group A plastic product, you have to go with the handbook. You will see all one by one. Now, group B and group C plastic is not as much combustible than group B and C plastic is not as much combustible as group A plastics. So normally they consider group B plastic same as class 4 commodities, and group C plastic same as class 3rd commodities. So you can keep group C plastic into class 3rd and group B plastic into class 4 without any hesitation. Why I'm trying to emphasize, why I'm trying to emphasize more on this density, the commodities classification. At the end of the day, we want to size the orifice of the sprinklers and the demand of the sprinkler. We just want to calculate the water requirement. Let's say it's a general rough diagram. You guys may have seen that the density curve, right? Design density curve, which go like something like this one, right? For low hazard, extra hazard, and all. Light hazard, ordinary hazard 1, 2, extra hazard 1 and 2. So based on the hazard, we need to size our sprinkler system, piping and all, and to calculate the water demand. We'll discuss this one at this density curve and all in the fire protection design of a sprinkler system. Now we are going just for the overview of the sprinkler system. Now there is one question which must be common to your mind, right? That there might be a big shopping market, right? Let's say Lulu or Hyper Panda or anyone, some similar to that. How to design your sprinkler system, right? Which one you are going to choose in the, which one you are to choose in the your density curve, because those area will consider class 1 commodities, 2, 3, 4, group A, B, and C, mix of that, right? Is this question coming in your mind after all those discussion?
Yeah, for sure. Because even if we design and specify areas, then later on they may change the layout at any time and mix up all the arrangement that.
Exactly, your question is correct. So for facilities like that, the best option is that you protect that area with the highest hazard, keeping in your mind, which is for this case, which will be the highest hazard group.
So it will be considered as group A only.
Yeah, consider the group A plastic. This is the first option. There are different options for that one. There are 4 or 5 options. The best one is to consider the highest hazard to avoid any kind of the problem in the future, right? The second option they have, you suppose you place a high hazard area in this warehouse area, right? When the high hazard area ends, after that 15 feet after the high hazard area, let's say you stored high hazard area for 10 meter, right? And after 10 meter you have to store the low hazard area. So for 10 meter you protect with the high hazard sprinklers, and the remaining protect with the low hazard sprinkler, like a class 1 commodities and all. But the high hazard area should go up to 15 feet inside the low hazard area. You got the point? So the sprinkler system should be, you may need to install 2 sprinklers into the low hazard area of the higher size, so that the heat might be from this area will go up to that area, should be activated by the higher sprinkler requirement for the water delivery. But this is again a complicated one. In the warehouse, the technician and all, they don't know how to store those materials. They might mix the group A with the class 3rd and class 3rd with the group A, right, in a hurry. So the best option is the one you have to go with the highest hazard occupancies. And there are the okay, and there are the third option. The third option is that let me finish this. Let's say this is your protecting by the first option is that, let me go to the blackboard. Just bear for just bear 5 minutes with me. I'll just close the class. The first one, protect the complete building with the highest hazard, right? The second one we have, suppose this is the high hazard area, right? And those sprinklers are rated for the high classes of the fire. Let's say the ESFR sprinklers, right, with 16.8 K factors and Those low hazard area, you have to store the product at this location. These are the product for the low hazard area. The distance from the high hazard area to the low hazard area should be at least 15 feet. So those 15 feet should be protected by the by these sprinklers, the high hazard area sprinkler into the low hazard side, because they want to ensure that if there is a fire, the high hazard area heat will go to the low hazard area also. So at least 15 feet should be protected by the high hazard sprinkler. This is the second one. The third one we have. The third one we have, suppose this is protect at the corner. Suppose this is we have protected this area with the high hazard and this area with the low hazard, right? The distance we have to put a draft, like something draft like this, a structure that. What is the meaning of that? The smoke shall not go to this side. The smoke of this fire will not go this side. The smoke of this fire will not go this side, because when there is a fire, the smoke travel to the ceiling. Once it travel to the ceiling it try to expand, right? It make a layer on the ceiling. So if there is a fire at this location, it should be not going to that side. If there is a fire at this location, it should be not go to the that side.
So just a smoke barrier, you mean?
Yeah, it's like a draft. It's not a complete passive protection, but it's a smoke barrier. Exactly. We don't want heat and smoke to travel. And this distance, from here to here should be at least 2 feet from this side and 2 feet from this side, whichever is possible. So these are the requirement, right, to install. But the best option is, again, you have to go with the highest hazard, just side a pump capacity with the sprinkler and all at one, to avoid this kind of the problem, because most of the time those technician or those employee working in the warehouse, they might mix the materials. If they mix the material in more quantity, there is going to be disasters in case of the fire, and sprinkler system will not control. If it sprinkler system not controlling a fire in the beginning, and if the fire grows more than the design area, no one can control those fire. I think enough for the today's session. We'll start tomorrow. We have only